Greetings. My name is Georgios Koutsopoulos. I'm a PhD student in the Department of Computer and System Sciences in Stockholm University. The paper that I'm about to present to you here is titled Conceptualizing Capability Change. My co-authors in this paper are Martin Heinkel and Yannis Stirna. The motivation behind this research is that every modern organization is heavily affected by environmental dynamics, and change is eventually becoming a new constant. Enterprise capabilities are changing, and enterprise modeling should properly depict this adaptability. The inclusion of capability thinking in businesses has resulted in the development of several capability modeling methods. What is common is that they all address the positive side of existing capabilities. The negative side has not been addressed yet. Enterprise modeling should be employed to guide the transition of capabilities, and including the identification of the need of change. This is another point that has been neglected so far. So capability modeling needs to be improved. But why capability? Because there is a significant association among the concept of capabilities, goals, processes, context elements, actors, resources. This is a fact that suggests that the concept is suitable compared to alternatives like processes or services. Initially, let's start with the definition of capability. In this project, it is defined as a set of resources whose configuration bears the ability and capacity to enable the potential to create value by fulfilling a specific goal within a specific context. Capability modeling so far is focused on the design phase of capabilities. What we need to do is shift the focus to the runtime phase and eventually unify the phases. Methodology used in this study is following the design science framework. I'm guessing that most of the participants are familiar with this, so I won't spend time going into detail. The interesting point is that in this research, having elicited requirements for an artifact, which is a meta model, now we're moving on to the design step, the development of the artifact, and also a brief demonstration of the meta model. What we've been using from our earlier research is initially a framework which includes the change functions that we have identified earlier. These are observation, decision, and delivery. Observation refers to monitoring of capability and capturing external and internal data that are associated with capability. Decision is referring to all the concepts that are related to processing of the observed information so that the sound decision can be made. Final delivery is referring to how the decision change is applied, how it is affecting the realization of the capability, and its interrelationship during runtime. We have also elicited requirements for the meta model. I won't go into detail for these as well. They are already published, you can check them. So, the meta model for capability change. Let's see what are the included elements. Capability, context, which has a specialization, internal context, and another one, external context. There's the resource, the outcome of a capability, an organization, which is a specialization of owner, to whom belong resources and capabilities. There's an interaction type, because organizations may interact with each other, and the association class interaction type is describing this interaction. There's also organizational boundary, which is determined by the interaction type, and boundary control, which regulates the organizational boundary. There's the concept of configuration, and the concept of change. Change has a type and consists of functions. These functions are observation, which consists of measurements, decision, which is motivated by intention element and determined by criterion, and delivery, which is describing the transition from one capability configuration to another. Finally, there's the behavior element, which is a part of configuration. State is a class that includes the attribute potentiality. This describes if a capability or change is enabled or disabled. A capability state, which is a specialization of state, has a purpose, meaning that it may be goal fulfilling or problem avoiding capability. There's also change state, which has the attributes scope, control, frequency, stride, desire, intention, and tempo. In order to demonstrate our metamodel, we are using a case study. The organization is called RH. It is a Swedish regional public healthcare organization. The capability, the changing capability under discussion concerns the provision of healthcare advice via phone. It is performed by specially trained nurses, and it is known by a 4-digit number that is used for calling the nurses. It's called 1177. So in general, the capability concerns the provision of healthcare advice to patients and referral of patients to the healthcare providers. Healthcare providers are providing their services to the patients. What we used for the studies were unstructured interviews, workshops, and document studies. What is the change that is being described through our metamodel? It's an improvement to the guidance support capability. Long story short, to date, what is happening is that a patient is calling to the service and is asked to state the existing symptoms. The nurses are using a system to identify and evaluate if the case is severe or not. There are different levels of severity. If a case is considered light or not important, not severe, advice for self-treatment is given to the calling patient. If it is deemed important or severe, the patient is referred to a physician for diagnosis. What is being changed now is that this new system is being developed that is associating the symptoms with the physicians that are best experienced and educated to treat them. In this way, the need for a diagnosis is skipped. So listing a set of symptoms provides the nurses with the capability to associate them directly to a physician properly trained. And this is saving time and effort for the health system. The instantiation for metamodel for this is shown here. I will explain it now. We have the health guidance capability. It is enabled and goal fulfilling. It is owned by RH and it has configuration A. Configuration A consists of the guidance system, the provider catalog system, and 1177 as a service. The guidance system is a resource owned by a national public provider, and the provider catalog system is owned by a private provider. These organizations are therefore collaborating. This is their interaction type. The change is a health guidance improvement. It is of type modification, and its state is that it is enabled, it is an adaptation which is planned, continuous, incremental, desirable, intentional, and slow. The functions of change are, as we stated earlier, observation, decision, and delivery. Observation consists of three measurements or assessments. It's the employee proposal assessment, the partner proposal assessment, and the political influence assessment. These concern three context elements, two external and one internal. The external elements are the partner proposals and the political influence, and the internal element is the employee proposal. When it comes to the decision, it is a change in the configuration of the capability. It is motivated by an improved efficiency and determined by reduced cost. And that leads to delivery from configuration A to configuration B. So there comes configuration B, a new configuration, which has the new system also allocated to it, the symptom provider system. This is owned by RH and is developed by the system development capability. This capability has its own configuration, which consists of the resources provider data and expert physicians. The expert physicians are owned by RH, while the provider data are owned by the private provider. This requires a collaboration between the two organizations. The collaboration determines an organizational boundary, which in this case is the data availability, and require the contract to regulate data availability. What we have seen in this model is a transition from configuration A of the health guidance capability to configuration B. So far, we have seen that the goals have been fulfilled because the information that needed to be captured to depict change has been included. However, the case is not optimal because the identification for the need of change had already been performed by the employees of the company. And this may be a potential weakness of the meta model that requires further evaluation. Another interesting fact is that behavior element, intention element are generic meta elements that can be decomposed into entire models. If we combine this with the complexity of the produced object diagram, this indicates that we probably need to introduce viewpoints, and this will be beneficial for the meta model. Introducing viewpoints give us the opportunity to explore new viewpoints like observation, decision, delivery, ownership. And as a future step, the meta model also needs to be evaluated by expert managers and decision makers. Thank you.